Alright, first things first. No, Ben didn't drown. No, Link isn't dead. And no, Stone Tower Temple isn't made out of phallic symbols. Well, actually, it kinda is, but let's talk about Majora's Mask's game design for once, shall we? The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask has to be one of the most wildly discussed games of all time. I mean, sure, every title in the franchise has been analyzed to hell and back with timeline theories, thematic deconstruction, and, totally safe for work fan art, but something about Majora's Mask just seems to inspire this extra rabid need for discussion in a series that's already frothing at the mouth with it. Whether you think it's for better or worse, it's impossible to deny that there's something unique about Majora's Mask. Something special that makes it stand apart from other Zelda games. And while many people have already offered their opinions on how this game is so much darker or more emotional than the others, although seriously, Ocarina of Time's got some messed up stuff in it, guys, today we're going to be going in-depth on a feature that isn't talked about all that often, which is surprising considering it literally takes up a quarter of the screen. Yeah, I'm gonna be talking about the 3-day time cycle. Sue me. Now, I've made it pretty public knowledge that Ocarina of Time is my favorite game that Nintendo's ever made. And one of the things I love most about it is how it's entirely about the journey and progress of Link, or rather, the player as represented by Link. The focus is on Link's relationships with characters such as Zelda and Ganondorf, and how they change over time as you unlock new items and grow stronger. Every single dungeon in Ocarina of Time has the incentive of proving yourself to someone, from the Deku Tree all the way up to each of the sages. You learn lessons about brotherhood, love, and the passage of time itself, and it all culminates in Link becoming powerful enough to finally go toe-to-toe with Ganon, defeating the enemy that's been taunting you the entire game. Ocarina of Time is about Link. Majora's Mask, on the other hand, that's a whole other story. This game right here, it's not about Link. Link's story ended with Ocarina of Time. He saved the world, he earned the Triforce of Courage, and when we first meet him at the start of the sequel, he's just tying up loose ends by trying to find Navi. Majora's Mask is a game about Termina and the people living there. And it has to be noted that none of the problems Termina has are caused even indirectly by Link. Think about it, the fact that Skull Kid runs into him and steals both the Ocarina of Time and Epona causes no problems for anyone except for inconveniencing Link himself. The moon's still coming down at the same speed regardless of whether Skull Kid has a time-controlling instrument or not, and even Epona showing up at Romani Ranch doesn't impact the subplot going on there. Isn't that weird? The Ocarina of Time is literally important enough to be the title of the last game, yet it doesn't factor into Skull Kid's plan at all. Link's just another dude getting robbed in the woods, just a visitor to this strange, parallel world for 3 days, interfering as a hero, yes, but not motivated by personal growth like an Ocarina. Instead, you're healing the bonds between the people of Termina itself, whether that's through completing dungeons or teaching hipster girls how to dance. So, this is where the general consensus on Majora's Mask seems to lie. The emphasis on the characters and side quests was great, and it was a brilliant way to develop a sequel to Ocarina of Time after being given a development period of only a year. However, opinions seem to be a lot more mixed on the 3-day time limit the game forces you into, with no way of bypassing it or freezing time completely. People like the darker focus of the game's plot, but don't like being forced to abide by this strict limitation of only being able to save at owl statues or when restarting the cycle, and only being able to travel forward in 12-hour increments with the Song of Double Time. It's frustrating not having 100% control of the game's central mechanic. But, sorry to break it to you, but I think that's kind of the point. Now, the 3-day cycle serves two different— Hey! I see you over there, 3DS Remake that changed the time travel and save system to completely contradict what I just said. Get back in the corner, I'll deal with you later. As I was saying, the 3-day cycle in Majora's Mask serves two major purposes. The first is to give the illusion that the characters have a life beyond what Link, and therefore the player, are able to see. Unlike in Ocarina of Time, where NPCs are just waiting around for the most important person in the world to come talk to them, aka you, the characters in this game have schedules that, due to the fact that you only ever see them for 3 days, feel natural and non-repetitive within those 72 hours. I mean, it's still just simple programming of be in this place at this time, then go to this place for this time, but it's a huge step forward from, oh, it's day? I'll stand in the middle of town forever. Oh wait, it's night? I guess I'm singing at the castle. The second effect of this 3-day cycle is that because of this moving around and having a set schedule, the player is forced to accommodate to the NPCs. In every other Zelda game, the characters are always less important than Link. If you're doing a side quest, you know that you can go see the next person you have to talk to whenever you want, right away or 3 dungeons later. It doesn't matter because the NPC will always be waiting for you. In Majora's Mask, you might get told to meet a character specifically at 11 p.m. And since there's no way to just travel to an immediate hour, shut up 3DS Remake, I'll get to you in a moment, it's up to the player to figure out the best way to use the time they'll have to wait and accommodate for the NPC's schedule instead of the other way around. In the world of Termina, Link, and again this means the player, is treated by the game's design as an equal to the other characters. Now, I understand why some people may not like having to commit to a game enough to manage their time around a virtual character's schedule. And believe me, I 100% think that video games overall should be as accessible as possible and able to be played in as many ways as possible. That's why I find the Majora's Mask remake on the 3DS to be a good thing in general, even if I think it kinda misses the point of what makes the game stand out from other Zelda titles. The ability to save whenever you want and travel to any specific hour means that, once again, the player is in complete control of the game's 3-day cycle and save system, as opposed to the original. Which I totally understand is an almost essential change to make for a portable game that may need to get shut off at any moment, and some people may even prefer to play the game this way, but I still feel that removing that thematic connection of Link not being automatically important overall makes for a lesser, more generic experience. By now, some of you may be thinking that I'm pulling this idea of Link being less of a focus than an Ocarina of Time out of my ass, but I truly think that this is one of the defining features of Majora's Mask. I've said in a previous video that Wind Waker presented a version of Link intended to be seen as an underdog, but Majora's Mask prematurely outdid that game by showing a Link that, while still a hero adventuring through temples like his last adventure, is now dealing with forces far beyond his capability to completely control. Just like the 3-day cycle and save system. Instead of giving Link new and extraordinary items in each dungeon, the game's 4 temples continually up the ante by instead having a central mechanic that Link actually has difficulty activating. Woodfall Temple introduces this idea by having these flower platforms that need to be permanently raised from the swampy water. Snowhead Temple has that giant massive pillar that you need to force upwards and then chip away at to lower it a bit. Great Bay Temple has a back and forth labyrinth of changing, swirling water currents. And finally, Stone Tower Temple literally has you flipping the world upside down. These are all changes caused by simply pushing or hitting a switch, but of enormous effect throughout the dungeons. Just like the time traveling, you're in control of something powerful, but not with any degree of precision. I could go on and on about all of the unique things that set Majora's Mask apart, the transformations into other characters important to Termina's history, the implications of a lore just beyond Link's understanding, even the boss battles that avoid the usual item then stab 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 of Zelda tradition, giving the implication that these beings weren't designed for Link to be killing. Again, geez, what is your problem, 3DS Remake? All of these changes from the normal Zelda agenda treat Link and the player as just another piece in the massive puzzle of Termina, no more or less important than anyone else. Termina feels like a world that keeps existing even when you turn off your console at night, and feels more real than any detailed open-world game released in the modern age because of this. And sure, part of this is due to an increased focus on character and writing on the developer's part, but all of this is supported by key game design decisions that make this game stand apart from Ocarina of Time. Majora's Mask in its original form was a game that forced you to consciously set aside the time to play and decide how exactly you were going to contribute to the world of Termina today. And you know what? I'd have to say that that is really freaking clever. Hey there, did you happen to enjoy this video? Then why not hit the like button, or the subscribe button, or both of them? You know, that'd be cool too, like at the same time. Just hit them, or like click on the screen somewhere. There's some videos on the screen. Click them, do that. Please, thank you. I love you.